the advertising campaign that's got everyone talking. Very racist. Jessica Yaniv has great genes. Jessica Yaniv, many of you will recall. I'm glad we have a Vancouverite on the panel today. Jessica Yaniv is the very beautiful woman who took some, I think, Vietnamese ladies to human rights commissions or tribunals for the right to force them to wax her balls. She did ultimately lose. But she's in the news again. She took some beauty pageant in Ontario to a human rights commission because they denied him the right to participate in this woman's beauty pageant. The beauty pageant said this pageant is for, I guess they probably have broadly two categories. One, you must be a woman, and two, you must be arguably beautiful. Beauty might be in the eyes of the beholder, but sometimes you can draw a pretty frickin' clear line, I think. It's pretty obvious. But Canadian courts, I don't have a lot of respect for them. They do a lot of dumb shit, but, maybe it's small sign of the times that we're returning to a little bit of normalcy, that sanity is perhaps returning to things that, because I would imagine, actually, it's not even a court, it's Human Rights Commission. These are the worst of the worst. I'm actually a bit surprised the Human Rights Commission ruled that this particularly ugly man is not entitled, in fact, to participate in a woman's beauty pageant.
And there's no appeal except on process, which I'm sure they follow scrupulously. Yeah, every now and then you get surprised. And generally speaking, I've not been a big fan of human rights commissions, but this one, they got it right. So good for them. But it's this whole war on beauty. I mean, maybe you mean to get to this later, but the reaction from the left on that whole advertising campaign from American Eagle.
We're going to transition.
We're going to transition to that. Okay, well, I'll save my thoughts for that.
If I could
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
If I can just speak to Jessica's illustrious career as an agitator, pot stirrer. I think the process that person has the objective is always to weaken our society, weaken our values, weaken what is truthful, and trade it out for what is not fact. If I am correct, I believe that Jessica has had not one, not two, not three, but 4 Human Rights Commission complaints, or what went forward to the Human Rights complaints. And if I'm not mistaken, our colleague Ezra Levent wrote a great book called Shakedown. It's about a decade or so old, and it talks about the Human Rights Commission and specifically the gamesmanship that went on with certain groups in Vancouver, and how that commission has had its own illustrious career of destroying people's lives. It's unfortunate because, as we've just said off the top, Derek, there are all these horrible issues coming forward regarding women and girls' safety, paying for child rape, pedophilia. They're not getting the sentences. There's a turnstile, especially in Vancouver. Women are being attacked on a pretty regular basis in Vancouver. I can't speak to other parts of the country, but I can tell you I've never felt less safe. And knowing that no matter what the police commissions are saying, no matter what those leaderships are demanding of the federal government, including my own Attorney General in British Columbia has demanded that the tomfoolery around pedophilia and women's rights and the sort of the reduction of women's rights must be addressed immediately by the Justice Minister as soon as possible. But getting back to Jessica, this is not a person that has anything else going on other than looking to make money off of these, I would say, quite insidious, if not, and also ludicrous claims that they are trying to make. And I would say it's a great offense to us women to feminism, to women that are dealing with serious problems that I've just outlined. And we need to be talking about the respect of women in this country. But Jessica has quite a career, and I would suggest that our our viewers today pick up Ezra Levant's book, Shakedown. It's one of the best books I've read around the Human Rights Commission and the egregious behaviors that happen there. But also, I think it's important people get really tuned in to what people like Jessica are doing to this country and the waste of time in our justice system.
So actually, that book Shakedown by Ezra, that was from Ezra's time as publisher of the Western Standard in his day, when the Standard was a print magazine, and
Yes.
coming from the decision of Ezra and the Standard at the time to run the famous or infamous Danish Muhammad cartoons, which were the biggest story in the world at that time, when radical Islamists were lynching people, burning down buildings, rioting, doing all sorts of stuff in an attempt to enforce their sense of blasphemy on the West, saying you're not allowed to have cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad. Everyone in the world was talking about it, writing about it, reporting on it, but no one in Canada had actually published, well, what are the cartoons that these people are so angry about? Are they really that offensive? And he published them, and if I was a Muslim,
Derek, it's quite...
maybe I would find them mildly offensive. And that's what it was about. And it was radical Muslims who went after the Western Standard at that time. But then Shakedown was about the whole broader grievance and complaint industry of these just totally ludicrous attempts by people to use the human rights commissions and tribunals to shake down businesses, churches, etc., for personal profit and no risk to themselves.
And shake them out of their charter rights and freedoms and religious freedoms. And if you look back at that time, I think the three of us would, or the four of us would agree that the foreshadowing of the Western Standards fight there, if you look to where we are today, to what was happening then, we should have taken it much more seriously.
Yeah. And the human rights commissions essentially are applying the charter. Like, the charter should only apply to government institutions. It should not apply to private institutions, businesses, not-for-profits, etc. Unless you're getting, you're essentially a quasi-government institution. No, government rules should not apply to you. The charter applies to restrained government, not individuals. And the Human Rights Commission is essentially applying the charter and government regulations to private institutions. And that's just where it goes on. They just shouldn't exist to begin with. But we're going to stay with this topic because I'm very proud of the pun on this headline today. Sydney Sweeney, well-known National Socialist, doing something very controversial, posing in jeans as a beautiful woman and being unashamed of being a beautiful blonde woman. The slogan of the campaign is Sydney has great genes. It's a pun, obviously. No one denies that. But the left has just had a total mental breakdown on this one, and they're a parody of themselves at this point. Like, they don't even have a minor point. Is anyone really denying that Sydney Sweeney doesn't have great genes, Cory?
It's a bizarre part of their ideology where they really the crabs in the bucket who have to tear down from the top under every circumstance, and they took a little thing and went too far. I mean, I think, for example, the Dove campaign, where it was marketing to regular women and saying, that you can be having curves and body flaws, but you're a regular person. That's who we want to serve. But the reality in what sells too is people want to see the ones who won the genetic lottery. They do want to see the most beautiful in models. They want to see, when I watch the NFL, I want to see the freakishly athletic men perform who I would never even be able to come close to, because we just want to see the top of the top. But it's not enough now to cater to normal people. They're trying to say it's unreasonable to celebrate the people who are exceptional, whether it's in looks or whatever way. It's a race to the bottom, actually. There's much more to be read into this with that rage they're showing for her daring to say, I got lucky, I had good genes, I'm more beautiful than your average person, that's just the way it goes, and I'm selling clothing. And their rage really illustrates how insecure and messed up they are.
I'm cautious to not say, every asshole with a TikTok account is representative of that side or this side. It's unfair when one side does that to another. But there's a pretty broad trend in the online outrage about this. It's almost universally women who do not have great genes who are upset about this. People who did not like very much did not win the genetic lottery. And I don't mean to be mean and ad hominem, but that's what this is
But
about.
they have very nice personalities.
Yes, they seem like such wonderful people who could stand to be in the room of someone who just maybe got, you know, a little luckier than them. But
You can talk about this at two levels, you know, Derek. One is
genes.
if you want to keep a fun thing going, we can keep a fun thing going. But you know, there is this is wokeness raising its ugly head, and notice it is the ugly head. Wokeness is just the revenge of the second best upon the best. And that's where this comes from. But there's this further level to this, and that is the whole war on beauty, which I don't want to get serious about this, but so I'll keep it short. But look, the left hates beauty. Beauty and truth go together. So whether you're looking at your architecture, your
Art,
music, your art, or even creative writing, they keep bringing down the average and calling that good instead of what is exceptional. So there's, you know, great, good for Sydney Sweeney. She probably made a lot of money. I hope people buy the jeans because it'll be a rebuke to all the nut bars who are complaining about it. But it's actually symptomatic of something a little deeper in our society.
I think it is. I mean, American Eagle stock is up something like 15 or 20%. like from a friggin' ad.
They get a lot of earned media out of that.
I mean, she is the anti Dylan Mulvaney, who crashed the stock and market share of a legendary Americana company. She's like taking this up 50 or 20%. And I don't think it's just because it's a good ad campaign, which it is. It's because I think the market, as I'm looking at it, the market, I think, is pricing in now that American Eagle's onto something that America, like my favorite of those ads is the one where she's got like a GT Mustang Cobra, like just like my it happens to also be my ultimate all-time dream car. Like, I'm a billionaire, that's the first thing I'm buying. But you know, it's just Americana, hot blonde chick wiping grease off onto the butt of her jeans, gets in a Mustang and
Trying to need a break for a minute there.
You know, but it's Americana. I don't think people in general ever stopped liking this stuff. We were just told for a decade or so that this is no longer appropriate. This is no longer in. You're shallow if you like muscle cars and hot women. And American Eagle just grabbed it right back. So I think it's emblematic of the changing times. Woke is dead.
It sort of tells you something that she got into a Mustang and not a Prius.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, oddly enough, I guess if you were trying to make this a Nazi dog whistle, you would have had to make it a Volkswagen. Yeah, I was going to say a Tesla. Yeah, I love the people who are like, I can't support Tesla because it's its founders are Nazis.
Wearing Adidas.
Volkswagen. Okay. All right. So we'll keep it going on here. I guess kind of comes to with kind of the woke topic. I pronounce it Feucht. How do you pronounce? How to